While many actors play tough on screen, have you ever wondered which of these actors could take the punch off it? Here are 10 of the toughest actors to ever grace Hollywood.
Some men got the craving for gold and silver. Others need lots of land with herds of cattle. And there's those that got the weakness for whiskey.
Number 10. Sterling Hayden. When it comes to Hollywood stalwarts whose presence instantly commands attention, Sterling Hayden sits heads and shoulders above everyone. At his peak, he needed no introductions. His eyes were piercing, and his towering height of 6 feet 5 inches was alluring. These and many more made him widely recognized as one of the most beautiful and sought-after men in the industry. Remember him in Asphalt Jungle and The Killing? Yeah, Mr. Hayden had the industry on a chokehold. But while one would think he loved the attention and glory of being a Hollywood star, he hated every bit of it behind closed doors. We mean, sure, he was a leading man for most of his career, specializing in westerns and film noir throughout the 1950s. But alas, underneath the fame and fanfare in entertainment lied a penchant for adventure. He loved the untamed expanse of the open sea and used his earnings from acting to finance numerous voyages as a sailor. Can you blame him, though? The lad grew up in the coastal towns of New England as a child. Loving the sea was only expected. After his first 2 roles, Hayden eventually made a decision that would alter the course of his career in unexpected ways. He decided to leave the industry to fight in World War II, a decision that rocked Hollywood. We're talking about a man who could have had anything he desired. He was rich, loved by the ladies, and was already a star in hits. Leaving all of that to fight in a dreadful war felt foolish to most, but he didn't care. He enlisted in the army, jetted off to Scotland to train, and broke his ankle, leading to his discharge. But however, his indomitable spirit refused to accept defeat. After recovering from his injury, he joined the Marines using the fake name John Hamilton, because he feared his brothers in arms wouldn't take him seriously because he was a movie star. But if you think his life as a mariner was a bed of roses, then you've got another thing coming. On a fateful Christmas night in 1943, Hayden landed on the Yugoslav island of Korčula in Eastern Europe aboard a broken-down motorboat. He had crossed the scary Adriatic Sea from Allied-held southern Italy, dropped off supplies, and performed reconnaissance on the Germans to gauge their strength and identify any weaknesses. And guess what? Not even a heavy attack from the Germans could bring him down. Like a true secret agent, he weaseled his way through adversaries and completed his mission, earning himself a Silver Star. And how about his time in the Balkans? He parachuted into Axis-controlled Croatia, rescuing up to 20 downed Allied airmen. By the time the war was over, Hayden had become a captain and had earned widespread admiration for his daring service for his country and the world. But you know what they say, bills don't pay themselves. After his service, he eventually returned to Hollywood to deservedly scrape every dollar he could before turning to writing late in life. Before his death from prostate cancer at the age of 70, he wrote 2 books, one about his personal sailing experiences and the other about the sea. So there you have it. Sailor, actor, war hero, and author Sterling Hayden was a man who could do it all. But you've not seen anything yet. Our next guy is going to knock your socks off. Number 9. Sessue Hayakawa. Born in Chiba, Japan, Sessue Hayakawa is a name that needs to ring loud and hard until the end of time. Despite being born into both sides of an aristocratic family of the samurai class, with his father even being the provincial governor, his life was anything but grilled cheese. After his eardrums got ruptured in the aftermath of a diving accident, his dreams to adopt a military career and follow in his father's footsteps got snatched away from him. Devastated and fearful of being a disappointment to his family, he fell into a deep state of depression and attempted to commit suicide. And just in case you have no idea what it means, seppuku is a form of ritual suicide by using a blade to rip out one's own bowels as penance to remove shame. And yeah, it's just as gory as you'd think. If it weren't for a last-minute intervention from his father, we'd have never witnessed the birth of a classical star. Because after he was saved, the duo reconciled their fractious relationship. Hayakawa was sent to America to find a new sense of purpose, and it was there that he discovered the world of moving pictures. Fascinated, he decided to try out acting in Little Tokyo, but as the natural talent that he was, he impressed Hollywood figures and was signed on to star in silent movies like 1914's The Typhoon and The Cheat in the following year. Soon he became famous for his role as a forbidden lover. His strikingly handsome appearance and frequent portrayal as a sexually dominant antagonist earned him widespread adoration among American women during a period marked by racial discrimination, making him one of Hollywood's first male sex symbols. And the money came flowing too. Hayakawa was one of the highest-paid stars of his time, earning $5,000 per week in 1915. He also earned $2 million annually through his own production company from 1918 to 1921. But it wasn't without challenges. As an Asian man breaking barriers in a predominantly white industry at the time, Hayakawa's success was often besmirched with racial insults. And don't even get us started on the xenophobia. It was truly a dreadful era for the Japanese. Did he give up, though? Certainly not. He's not one of the toughest actors in Hollywood for nothing. Despite the tribulations he faced at the time, Hayakawa defied stereotypes and exuded an aristocratic demeanor, earning comparisons to Rudolph Valentino himself. And if there's one thing we cherish so much about him, it's the fact that he mirrored his on-screen vibes in real life. On the silver screens, he was the proverbial bad boy who knew how to charm ladies with his striking looks and magnetic persona. And that's how he was in real life, too. Everywhere he went, women swooned after him, including fellow stars. We can't forget how he was involved in many scandals with Hollywood divas. But nonetheless, even he knew when to take a break. In 1922, he left Hollywood and performed on Broadway in Europe and even in his nation. He never really disclosed the reason, but many believe it was due to the growing sentiment of being Asian and other business difficulties. In any case, his peace of mind was paramount. He left the busy scenes of Hollywood to enjoy a more quiet life for several years, before finally returning to feature in Daughter of the Dragon. But in case you're wondering why someone as amazing as Sessue Hayakawa is relatively unknown to most in contemporary times, the truth is that we've got no idea as well. For some reason, his contributions to the industry were pushed to the back seat. And that stinks because his martial arts style and influence reshaped Hollywood and paved the way for future Asian actors like Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. But at least this guy received the recognition he deserved. Number 8. Peter Julian Ortiz. Born to an American mother of Swiss descent and a French-born Spanish father, Peter Julian Ortiz is one of the most interesting figures in Hollywood history. And no, it's neither because of his gorgeous looks or acting skills, despite both being pretty noteworthy, nor his mastery of 10 languages. At the young age of 19 on February 1, 1932, Ortiz enlisted in the French Foreign Legion for a 5-year term of service in North Africa. There, he underwent training at the Legion's camp, and he was so good that in only 3 years he was promoted to sergeant. But that's not even close to the good part. When World War II broke out, Ortiz re-enlisted in the Foreign Legion and demonstrated remarkable heroism, earning a battlefield commission. Despite sustaining injuries and being captured by the Germans during the Battle of France, he successfully escaped and made his way back to the United States. Soon after, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps, where his extensive training and experience quickly resulted in his commission as a second lieutenant. His escapades were the stuff of legend. Working with the Office of Strategic Services, Ortiz conducted several reconnaissance missions in North Africa and France. He aided downed RAF pilots and championed the resistance. And guess what? When he and his team were attacked and surrounded by enemies during a mission that went wrong, he bravely surrendered. He feared the enemy would kill the villagers out of anger. Until his freedom, he was subjected to harsh interrogations and torture, but yet he spilled nothing. His valiant sacrifice and loyalty to the cause made him a living legend in that section of France. His work rate was head and shoulders above his peers, earning him numerous awards, including the Purple Heart, the Legion of Merit, and the Navy Cross. But despite all of these in his life, he returned to civilian life as an actor and technical advisor in Hollywood. Although he later volunteered to serve in Indochina later on in his life, he remained a civilian until his passing at the age of 74 to cancer. He was survived by his wife Jean and their son Peter J. Ortiz Jr. To date, his legacy as a decorated war hero remains intact. In the French village of Montgirard, a town square called Place de Colonel Peter Ortiz still stands to this very day. But if you thought the life and times of Ortiz were fascinating, you just wait to see who's next.
What do you think, you're some kind of hard guy or something? No. Then don't turn your back on me when I'm talking to you, punk.
Number 7. William Smith. You can praise William Smith for having a pretty face, but make no mistake, he's not one to be trifled with. Born on a rugged cattle ranch in Missouri, he was bred for toughness right from the start. His journey into Hollywood began at the tender age of 8, before featuring in films like The Ghost of Frankenstein and Meet Me in St. Louis. But it was his stint in the United States Air Force that truly solidified his reputation as a force to be reckoned with. At first, he dominated the arm wrestling world, clinching the 200-pound championship multiple times. And then he took things a step further by also conquering the weightlifting arena, this time in the Air Force Championship. But Smith wasn't just brawn, he had brains to match. With a master's degree in language from UCLA, he flew clandestine missions over Russia SFSR during the Korean War. And despite the overwhelming danger of each mission, he always found a way to come out victorious due to his wits and bravery. Here's a bit of trivia though. Did you know that William Smith was a polyglot? He was proficient in German, French, and Serbian, making him a formidable opponent in any language. And when the time came for him to transition to Hollywood, he did so with grace, seamlessly embracing a multitude of genres. Whether portraying a law enforcement officer, a rugged cowboy, or a ruthless warlord, Smith's presence was always commanding. He made a name for himself as the quintessential bad guy, earning the title of the greatest bad guy character actor of our time. But while his on-screen toughness was undeniable, it was one infamous off-screen escapade that truly earned him his stripes. But before we go into it, have you ever wondered how staged fights in movie scenes end? Sometimes it gets pretty ugly. In the cult classic Darker Than Amber, a staged fight scene turned into a real brawl, with Smith holding his own against co-star Rod Taylor, breaking bones and noses with equal ferocity. And how can we forget his memorable appearances in TV shows like Hawaii Five-0, Batman, and The A-Team? Even in his later years, Smith's presence reminded fans and critics of his enduring toughness. Though Smith may have left this world in 2021 at the age of 88, his indomitable spirit lives on through his work and his legacy. From the battlefield to the big screen, William Smith will always be remembered as one of Hollywood's toughest figures, but not as much as the next guy on your screen.
Computer. Ah. Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
Number 6. James Doohan. Are you surprised? Renowned for his iconic role as Chief Engineer Montgomery Scott on Star Trek, James Doohan was far from the average Hollywood legend. But here's the thing, his journey to becoming one of Hollywood's toughest guys wasn't because of some martial arts training or mean persona. No sir, his title was forged in the crucible of war. Born in Vancouver, British Columbia, he was the son of Irish immigrants and grew up in Sarnia, Ontario. His early years were marked by academic excellence, excelling in mathematics and science, but it was his time in the Royal Canadian Artillery that he truly shone the most. Hailed as the craziest pilot in the Canadian Air Force for his wild aerial antics, Duan saw action on the front lines during World War II. Despite being hit by 6 rounds of friendly fire from a nervous sentry in the second wave at Juno Beach on D-Day, Duan pressed on with a fiery resolve. Like a man possessed, he killed 2 Nazi snipers while leading his platoon up the mined beaches, and guess what? He did so with a bullet in his chest. It didn't pierce through, though. Luckily, a silver cigarette case was in his pocket, shielding him from what would have been instant death. Despite losing his right middle finger in the attack and bleeding out from 4 bullet holes in his left leg, Doohan's determination and resilience never wavered. In an insane act of mental fortitude, he managed to make it back to the camp to receive medical attention. Despite the physical and emotional toll of his wartime experiences, Duan pursued further education in radio and television, the final destination, a career in Hollywood. But alas, his eventual success in the Star Trek series ended up being a double-edged sword. He was typecast and had limited success in finding roles in other genres. With the only defeat in his life, he eventually returned to play his character in the animated and film continuations of the series. In any case, James Doohan's story serves as a stark reminder that true toughness isn't just about physical strength. It's about resilience, courage, and an unyielding spirit in the face of adversity. From the trenches of war to the bright lights of Hollywood, Doohan's legacy lives on as a testament to the power of an unyielding human spirit. But make sure you watch till the end, because our top 3 are going to leave your mouth wide open.
Those fat bellies with the big cigars are going to make a monkey out of me. I can beat him. You know I can beat him.
Number 5. Kirk Douglas. Halfway through our journey through Hollywood's machoist icons, we come to none other than Kirk Douglas, a man whose name is synonymous with resilience and determination. Born into abject poverty, his life is a literal grass-to-grain story. But how exactly did this poor boy end up shining like a million stars? Since his birth, life had already scored a touchdown. He grew up with an alcoholic father who never shied away from physically abusing him. And to make things worse, his father was addicted to it. When he drank up the little money they had, Douglas and his mother and 6 sisters were left to starve. But while that would have broken many, Douglas channeled that adversity into strength. He was a standout on the school's wrestling team and even wrestled one summer in a carnival to make money. For Douglas, fighting became more than just a sport. It was a means of survival, a way to stand tall in the face of bigotry and hatred, a way to the good life. And when war called, he answered. He joined the United States Navy in 1941, where he served as a communications officer in anti-submarine warfare. However, he was downed in action. He sustained nasty injuries from a premature explosion of a depth charge, leading to him being medically discharged in 1944. But luckily, his journey was just beginning. You see, Douglas was a genius in front of the screen. His talents were first noticed at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, which gave him a special scholarship, and things took off from there. From film noir to historical epics, he shone like a million stars, playing each role with ease. And his contributions didn't stop at acting. He was a trailblazer in producing, directing, and writing. Yet there's more to Douglas than meets the eye. Throughout his life, challenges always seemed to be close. At 74 years old, he miraculously survived a helicopter crash that tragically took the lives of 2 others. Then at the age of 79, he surpassed doctors' expectations following a stroke, achieving a remarkable recovery and even regaining some of his speech within months. But sadly, Mr. Douglas proved that he was indeed human. He passed away in February 2020 at the remarkable age of 103. Reflecting on his life, Douglas stated that he wasn't a tough guy, but rather he just played the part. But maybe he was right after all, because behind his tough exterior, he had a heart of gold. His generosity knew no bounds, touching the lives of countless individuals and leaving a lasting impact on society. But what do you think? Is he really a tough guy in your books? While you're pondering your answer, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the post notification turned on. Our upcoming videos are off the charts, and believe it when I tell you that you won't want to miss them. Number 4. Sir Christopher Lee. Born in 1992, Christopher Lee enjoyed a career spanning nearly 7 decades, solidifying his position as one of the most prolific actors in history. However, his legacy extends beyond his numerous film roles. Lee's life was an extraordinary odyssey marked by courage, intelligence, and a hint of peril. Before captivating audiences as Count Dracula, portraying the sinister Saruman, or wielding a lightsaber as Count Dooku, Christopher Lee served his country with distinction during World War II. And unlike the man before him on our list, there's no question about whether or not Christopher Lee was a tough guy. Everything about him exuded an aura. As a pilot officer in the RAF, and subsequently as an intelligence officer, Lee's wartime achievements were truly extraordinary. He conducted operations behind enemy lines in North Africa, serving with both Popsky's Private Army and the SAS, renowned for their courage and determination. And don't even get us started on the fact that he fought alongside the renowned Gurkha Regiment during the arduous Battle of Monte Cassino. Can you imagine serving in those high-profile military units? The anguish and horror that he must have seen in the war firsthand must have been scary. In fact, did you know that he almost died? During the final assault on Monte Cassino, the squadron was based in San Angelo, and it was there that Lee was nearly killed when one of the planes crashed on takeoff. He even tripped over one of its live bombs. But hey, you know what they say, it's storms that make the best sailors. Like a Goliath, Lee stood tall on the battlefront. And even when the war was over, he was still tasked with hunting Nazi war criminals. This assignment led him into the depths of human cruelty as he interrogated individuals and pursued justice for those accountable for the Holocaust. But instead of allowing these harsh experiences to haunt him, he made them the fuel for his burning passion. Wondering how he became a Sir? Well, in 2009, he was knighted for services to drama and charity. 2 years later, he received the BAFTA Fellowship in 2011, before getting the BFI in 2013. But it's the least that he deserves. He fought valiantly when the world needed him most, and still remained passionate about the cause even when death knocked at his door. By the time he passed away on June 7, 2015, he was already a legend, never to be buried under the sands of time.
You pull a trick like that again, and I'm going to spank your bottom for you.
Number 3. Charles Bronson. Born into poverty in Pennsylvania's coal mining region, Charles Bronson faced unimaginable challenges from a young age. Imagine a childhood marked by hunger, poverty, and the constant danger of coal mining. For Bronson, these struggles were all too real. Due to financial hardship, his family couldn't afford milk for his siblings. They were fed warm tea instead. Things were so bad that Bronson had to wear his sister's dress to school at one point due to a lack of clothing. But if you think things are going to get better, prepare for a rude shock. After Bronson's father passed away, he began working in the coal mines, initially in the mining office before transitioning to underground mining. And according to him, he earned a meager $1 for every ton of coal he extracted. Imagine working so hard in the unforgiving mines, removing stumps in places where cave-ins were a regular occurrence, just to get about $24 in modern times. Sometimes he even had to work double shifts just to earn this. But amid the myriad of challenges that came his way, including being the 11th child in a family of 15, Bronson went on to become one of the world's most popular movie stars. How, you may ask? It all started during the Second World War. Tired of working in the mines, Bronson enlisted in the United States Armed Forces. He served in the 760th Flexible Gunnery Training Squadron, and later as a Boeing B-29 Superfortress aerial gunner with the 61st Bombardment Squadron. There he conducted combat missions against the Japanese home islands and completed 25 missions. With remarkable courage and determination, he served his nation well despite being poor in spoken English. In fact, he even received a Purple Heart for injuries sustained in combat. And when his time came in Hollywood, best believe that he stood out. Known for his tough guy persona, he had a stoic, macho face that many admit spoke volumes about the challenges that he had faced throughout his life. Want to know what we find interesting, though? Off-screen, Bronson was rather introverted and reserved. Unlike most of his peers, he didn't easily socialize with others, including his fellow co-stars. Mr. Bronson passed away at the age of 81, but although Alzheimer's disease and pneumonia are believed to be the causes of his death, neither of them are listed on his death certificate. Rather, respiratory failure and lung cancer were cited as the reasons for his death. Nonetheless, can you guess who's coming next?
Oh, every day is a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Nice man.
Number 2. James Stewart. There's a reason why James Stewart is one of the most loved and influential movie stars in American film history. In fact, alongside Humphrey Bogart and Cary Grant, Jimmy was named among the greatest American actors ever. But while you may be wondering what's so special about him, did you know he actively fought in World War II despite being already famous? But here's what made him so special. At the start of the war, he was given the option to avoid active service. His superiors were reluctant to put such a popular figure in danger, but Jimmy wanted no special treatment. He preferred to go on combat missions and face the full brunt of the war head-on, leading his men in several bombing raids over Germany. And even when the war was over, he didn't let his military service stop there. He remained active during the Vietnam War, showcasing his steadfast commitment to his country. Throughout his military tenure, Stewart rose to the rank of USAF Reserve Brigadier General and earned numerous commendations for his courage and valor. But sadly, life didn't end so well for him. Stewart's wife, Gloria, passed away from lung cancer in 1994 at the age of 75. And according to biographer Donald Dewey, her death plunged Stewart into a state of depression. He became increasingly withdrawn, spending most of his time in his bedroom. He only came out for meals and to spend time with his children. He distanced himself from most people in his life, including the media, fans, co-stars, and friends. A year later, he was hospitalized after a fall, and 2 years later, the same happened, this time for an irregular heartbeat. He eventually passed away from a heart attack at the age of 89. Alas, we take solace in the fact that his legacy remains strong. To date, he is remembered as an iconic actor who made an undying impact on Hollywood, as well for his valiant service to his nation in 2 wars. If it weren't for the next guy on our list, he would have been the toughest thespian of all time. Number 1. Audie Leon Murphy. If there's a man whose life and times marked heroism and selflessness, it has to be Audie Leon Murphy. Born with anything but a silver spoon, Murphy had to grow up fast. At first, his father abandoned them. Then his mother passed away when he was only a teenager. Faced with the responsibility of caring for his family, Murphy left school in 5th grade to labor in the fields, picking cotton and seeking other employment opportunities. After honing his ability in stealth and marksmanship, he also hunted rabbits to provide for his family. But little did he know that these skills would serve him well in the deadly game of war. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Murphy's older sister assisted him in altering his birth date to meet the minimum age requirement for military enlistment. But it didn't work at first. He was rejected by the Army, Navy, and Marine Corps due to being underweight. But he persisted until he was finally able to enlist in the Army. Murphy fought bravely at Montélimar and demonstrated exceptional leadership during a successful assault at Lomé Quarry near Cléry in northeastern France. Despite battling numerous illnesses and sustaining wounds during his service, Murphy eliminated 241 enemy soldiers. Remember the opening clip we showed about him? He portrayed himself in the movie To Hell and Back, And just as the scene depicted, he single-handedly halted the advance of a Nazi unit using a .50 caliber machine gun. This fearless and selfless action led to him being awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, solidifying his legacy as a genuine hero of the battlefield. But his feats of valor didn't end there. His extraordinary bravery earned him not only the Medal of Honor, but also every military combat award for valor available from the U.S. Army, as well as French and Belgian awards for heroism. Soon he became the most decorated American combat soldier of World War II, and, in fact, the entire history of America. He was bestowed with every military combat award for valor available from the United States Army. But as we draw the curtains on our rundown of the top 10 toughest stars in Hollywood history, feel free to let us know whose story shocked or resonated with you the most. Make sure to like and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to watch the video currently displaying on your screen for more juicy videos like this.